Title: Ashes and Echoes. Part 1. The fall. Alex Carter had always believed in stability. He was a civil engineer, a man who built bridges both literal and metaphorical. At 34, he had a predictable life in Chicago, a well-paying job, a quiet apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, and a wife he loved more than the world, Sophia. Sophia was the spark in his routine world, a freelance photographer, unpredictable and warm, the kind of woman who left Polaroids of inside jokes in his briefcase and danced barefoot on hardwood floors to old jazz records. They'd met 7 years ago in Union Station when she'd accidentally spilled coffee on his blueprints. He'd glared, then laughed, and she offered to buy him a new coffee. They ended up talking for hours that evening at a cafe nearby. By the end of the night, he gave her his number, unsure if she'd ever call. She did. The rest, Alex often said, was a beautiful blur. They married 3 years later. The wedding was small, held in an art gallery with string lights and jazz playing softly in the background. It rained that day, and Sophia took off her shoes and danced on the wet sidewalk. Alex watched her, heart full, thinking, this is what forever feels like. Or so he believed. Their life together was imperfect but loving. Alex worked long hours on city infrastructure projects, often coming home late with rolled-up blueprints and dusty boots. Sophia took freelance jobs when she felt like it, mostly weddings or small magazine shoots. Her income was inconsistent, but she made up for it with passion and spontaneity. They fought sometimes, usually about money or how Alex seemed to drift emotionally. But nothing that couldn't be resolved over wine and takeout. Over time, though, the little moments grew quieter. Sophia no longer left surprise notes in his briefcase. Alex stopped checking in during the day. Conversations turned into logistical exchanges, grocery lists, calendar reminders, who would walk the dog. The love was still there, or at least Alex thought it was, just buried beneath exhaustion and routine. On their 6th anniversary, Alex took the day off. He planned everything. Breakfast in bed, a walk along Navy Pier, and dinner he'd try to cook himself. He even bought her a necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small charm shaped like a camera. He'd commissioned it months earlier. Sophia arrived home late. Her hair was slightly damp from the rain, and she looked surprised to see candles lit, dinner on the table. "You cooked?" she asked, half smiling. "I tried," Alex said, nervous. "It's probably inedible, but—" She kissed him quickly. "Smells amazing." But something was off. They sat, ate. She barely touched her food, kept checking her phone. Her laughter, once quick and unrestrained, was muted. Alex caught her staring out the window several times. "Soph?" he asked, placing his fork down. She looked up, startled. "Are you okay?" She hesitated, then with a deep breath said the words that would burn into his memory. "We need to talk," she confessed. Slowly, carefully. The affair had been going on for almost a year. His name was Micah, another creative, someone she'd met during a travel shoot in New Mexico. It had started as conversation, then connection, then more. Sophia said she hadn't planned it, said she didn't mean to fall in love. Alex listened, every word pierced. It felt surreal, like a bad dream he couldn't wake up from. His chest tightened, heart pounding in his ears. She cried, apologized, said she didn't want to hurt him, but she had to follow her heart, that their love had become too predictable, that she needed passion, spontaneity, things she no longer felt with him. By the time she packed a suitcase, it was midnight. She stood by the door, eyes puffy. "I do love you," she whispered. Alex didn't respond. He closed the door after her, then sat in the dark. He sat there for hours, unmoving, the dinner long gone cold. Rain pattered softly against the windows. The apartment smelled like rosemary and burnt chicken. He picked up her half-empty wine glass and stared at the lipstick stain. That single imprint felt like an echo of everything that just left. He didn't cry. Not that night. Not yet. Instead, he opened the fridge, grabbed the first bottle of beer he saw and drank in silence, staring at the front door like she might walk back in. She didn't. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, Alex's world stood still. Part 2. The Unraveling. In the weeks that followed, Alex existed in fragments. He went through the motions, showering, dressing, commuting, but none of it felt real. He stared blankly at his monitors at work, ignoring spreadsheets and project deadlines. His co-workers noticed. Evan, his project manager, pulled him aside after a missed presentation. "You okay, man?" Evan asked gently. Alex nodded too quickly. "Just tired." Evan didn't press, but the pity in his eyes stung more than any reprimand. At home, time lost meaning. The living room remained frozen in that anniversary night, candles melted to stubs, the necklace still in its box on the kitchen counter. He couldn't bring himself to throw it away. He wandered the apartment like a ghost. Sophia's presence lingered everywhere, the faint scent of her lavender shampoo in the bathroom, her stack of photography books beside the bed, a forgotten scarf on the coat rack. He tried sleeping in different rooms. None of them worked. He lost weight. Friends texted. His sister Amanda called repeatedly. He didn't answer. The idea of explaining what happened, of saying it out loud, was unbearable. One night, while reaching for a spare blanket in the hall closet, a cardboard box tumbled down, its contents spilling onto the floor. Among the clutter, an old Polaroid camera, a stack of photographs, and a leather-bound notebook. He recognized it instantly. Sophia had given it to him 2 years into their marriage. Inside the cover, she'd written in black ink, "For the bridges you'll build in life and the ones you'll need to cross." Most of the pages were blank, but now they called to him. He sat down on the floor and began to write. At first it was raw. Letters to Sophia, unfiltered and furious. He cursed her, questioned everything, asked what was real. Then the tone shifted, grief giving way to reflection. He wrote about their first date, about the night she danced in the rain, about how she used to hum Billie Holiday while brushing her teeth. Then came sketches, crude pencil drawings. Their wedding. Their living room. A cup of coffee tipped over a blueprint. The moment they met. He didn't know why he was doing it. Only that it helped. It filled the long, echoing hours between sunset and sleep. Eventually he realized he couldn't stay there any longer. The apartment wasn't a home. It was a mausoleum. So he broke the lease, boxed up everything that didn't hurt to look at, and moved into a small studio in Logan Square. It was barely furnished, one couch, a desk, a mattress on the floor. But it was quiet, clean, new. A neighbor down the hall, Mark, struck up a conversation in the elevator one night. Mid-30s, gym rat, funny in a deadpan way. He invited Alex to the local boxing club. "You look like you need to hit something," Mark said, half joking. He was right. The first session was brutal. Alex couldn't last 2 rounds without gasping for air. But he returned, again and again. He liked the rhythm, the focus. For an hour each night, there was no Sophia, no betrayal, just fists, sweat, and silence. He began to feel stronger. On weekends, unsure what to do with himself, he looked up volunteer work. Habitat for Humanity had a local chapter. He signed up for a build project in Springfield, reconstructing homes damaged by spring floods. It was mindless, honest work. Wood, nails, blueprints. He liked it. There he met Daniel, a retired mechanic in his late 60s, gruff but kind. Over beers one night on a creaky porch, Daniel shared stories about his wife, who'd passed from cancer a decade ago. "You don't fix a broken heart," Daniel said, sipping his beer. "You just make enough space around it to live again." Alex wrote that line in the notebook. And beneath it he added, "Maybe I'll build something else now." Part 3. Crossroads. Autumn in Chicago was always beautiful. The leaves along Michigan Avenue turned to fire, and the lake shimmered like polished steel. It was during this season that Alex began carrying his camera again. The same Polaroid Sophia had once used now sat in his palm. What started as random snapshots, buildings, alleyways, strangers on benches, slowly became a project. He titled it "Still Here." Every image was about endurance. A cracked sidewalk with new grass pushing through, a broken bicycle chained to a rusted fence, a man waiting at a train stop in the rain, motionless, proud. Alex uploaded the images to a small blog he kept anonymous. He wrote accompanying thoughts, fragments from his journal. The blog gained traction. Readers left comments. "I see myself in this one. Thank you for showing this side of the world." One evening, while sitting in a bookstore cafe downtown, a woman approached him. Late 20s, curly hair, reading glasses. "You're the guy from Still Here, right?" Alex blinked, surprised. Yeah, I am." She smiled. "Your photos helped me through a breakup, especially the one with the cracked stained glass window. That was my screensaver for weeks." It stunned him, the idea that something born out of his ruin could be light for someone else. Word spread. A small gallery in Pilsen reached out. They wanted to feature his photos in an upcoming exhibit titled Urban Soul. He agreed. Opening night arrived. Alex wore a second-hand blazer and tried to act casual, though his heart thudded like a drum. The gallery buzzed with energy. Wine glasses clinked. Strangers murmured in front of his photos. One image drew the most attention, a photo of an old man, hunched but smiling, sitting on the stoop of a house half collapsed from flood damage. The title read, "Staying Power." Near the end of the night, he felt a shift in the room's air, like a cold front rolling through. Sophia stood near the entrance. She hadn't changed much. Her hair was shorter, her jacket a deep plum color. She looked uncertain, holding a folded gallery flyer like a shield. Their eyes met. She walked over slowly. "Hi, Alex." "Hey," he said, trying to keep his tone even. "This is beautiful," she said, motioning to the gallery. "I've been following your blog for months. I didn't know it was you at first." He nodded. "I wasn't really ready to put my name on it." There was a pause. Then she said, "Micah's gone." Alex didn't respond. He just looked at her, waiting. He couldn't handle life. He liked the idea of me more than the real me. "And now," Alex asked softly, "now I'm just trying to be real, to fix what I broke." He looked away, eyes scanning the room. They landed on Staying Power. "You see that man?" he said. His house was flattened, lost everything but his dog and a chair. And he still smiled. He said, "Everything I need is in my chest, not my walls." Sophia looked at the photo. Her eyes welled. "You look lighter," she said. He exhaled. "I am." She didn't ask for another chance. He didn't offer one. There was no begging, no accusations, just two people standing among ghosts and growth. "I'm glad you came," Alex said finally. "So am I." They hugged briefly, then she turned and left. He watched her walk away, not with pain, but with understanding. He picked up his glass and wandered back into the gallery, where people still lingered under dim lights, talking about resilience like it was art. And maybe it was. Part 4, the rebirth winter arrived quietly. Snow dusted the sidewalks, and the lake froze into a silver sheet beneath the skyline. Alex spent most mornings at the boxing gym, most afternoons walking the city with his camera, and evenings writing in his notebook or editing photos with soft music in the background. He started journaling less about pain and more about growth, less about Sophia and more about purpose. One entry read, "Some people come into your life like storms, others like fire, but the ones that matter, truly matter, help you become the architect of your own shelter." The photography book came together slowly, almost accidentally. A publisher who visited the gallery reached out after seeing his blog. They wanted to compile his series into a book, images paired with essays and journal fragments. He agreed on one condition. The title had to be his. He called it Ashes and Echoes. When it released in the spring, it made quiet waves in creative circles. Nothing viral, nothing loud, but enough for him to get invited to speak at small art schools and photography clubs. Enough to remind him that he had something worth saying. At one such talk in Minneapolis, he met Elise, a travel writer with a sarcastic sense of humor and a love for obscure documentaries. She challenged his opinions, argued over favorite authors, and told him his photos needed more joy. He liked that about her. They didn't rush into anything. Coffee turned into dinners, dinners into walks, walks into weekends in unfamiliar towns, chasing stories and landscapes. One afternoon, they stood at the edge of a frozen lake somewhere in northern Michigan. Elise was snapping photos of broken ice patterns. Alex stood back, watching her, smiling. "You ever think about the past?" she asked suddenly. "All the time," he said, "but I don't live there anymore." She nodded, then added, "That's a rare thing." He thought about that as they drove back. He thought about Sophia, not with pain, but with distance, with clarity. She had been a chapter, important, beautiful, heartbreaking. But not the whole story. He no longer measured his life by what he had lost. He measured it by what he had learned, who he had become, and how much of himself he'd reclaimed. He sent Sophia a copy of the book. No note, just the book. A silent acknowledgement of a shared history and the person he now was. Weeks later, a postcard arrived. No return address. Just a photo of a small bridge in Vermont and 3 words written on the back. Build beautifully, always. He smiled. Epilogue, the lesson. Not every story ends with a clean bow. Some leave threads hanging, like wind chimes on a porch, ringing softly in memories. Alex didn't remarry, not yet. He didn't chase closure. He didn't need to. He filled his walls with new photos. He traveled. He wrote. He sat in silence without fear. And on quiet nights, when the world slowed, he sometimes opened the leather notebook, not to write, but to read, to remember. Not the fall, not the breaking, but the rebuild. Because some bridges aren't meant to bring us back. They're meant to carry us forward.